They've been protesting throughout the pandemic, families fighting to stay in their homes. The federal eviction moratorium served as a lifeline for many. Now that hope is fading.
This lift is going to be catastrophic, and we are going to see a mass wave of displacement across the nation.
A federal judge ruled the CDC overstepped its boundaries by issuing the nationwide moratorium set to expire June 30th. The Biden administration indicated it would appeal the decision and issue a stay to keep that moratorium in place until the appeal. Still, housing advocates say the news is confusing for anxious renters.
In DC, this can potentially lead to a lot of self-evictions and unnecessary stress and panic and fear on the most affected communities.
The federal ruling does not impact DC, whose own eviction moratorium is tied to the state of emergency. Maryland's is too. But Virginia renters relied on that federal order for protection. The Commonwealth's moratorium expired in January, though they do offer rental assistance for residents. Veronica Mosqueda is a senior organizer with the Latino Economic Development Center in D.C. She says regardless of protections, tenants have been at risk of losing their homes throughout the pandemic.
We still have seen bad actors, bad landlords, misinforming tenants, illegally displacing them. So we are seeing this as a potential tool to be used here in DC to displace folks and misinform them. The truth is that this eviction moratorium that we have had was never going to be a permanent solution to this problem, right? The jobs haven't come back for so many of our communities. People still can't afford rent. And even though we are seeing those changes that push to reopen, people are still struggling.
That's why advocates say they need a permanent solution and legislation to address the housing crisis made worse by the pandemic. Delia Gonsalves, WUSA 9.